Before I start the video, as a quick reminder, check out my links down below to help support the channel. I am now in partnership with Baron of Dice. They have some awesome TCG accessories like playmats, deck boxes, and dice. And if you want to level up your setup, it is the perfect way to do so. And if you want to support the channel directly and get some sweet perks, consider joining the Patreon. If you want to get early access to videos or even some deck help, Patreon is where it's at. And so without further ado, let's get back into the video. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Devin with Jurassic Magic, and in today's video I wanted to go over the new Uncharted Secret Lair Commander Nathan Drake Treasure Hunter. This is going to be in partnership with the new PlayStation Secret Lair launch that is coming out, I believe, October 28th or 27th, I'm not sure on the correct date. However, when I made the spoiler video for all the Secret Lairs coming out, a lot of people requested Nathan Drake Treasure Hunter to build a deck around. I actually personally never played the Uncharted series. It looks pretty fun and I'm quite interested. Now that they have a card for it, I might just try it out. Besides that point, in this video today, I'm going to be building around this commander, and I'll focus on a couple of key categories to help ensure you have a good time with your deck. I'm first going to focus on a play from exile theme because, of course, with Nathan Drake on that ability, we're going to be exiling cards and we can play them, so we want to gain additional benefits. Of course, we're also going to focus on a theft theme. There's a lot of benefits of having creatures or casting spells we don't own, and lastly, I'll go over some win cons. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get into treasure hunting with Nathan Drake. So let's first read into the commander. So Nathan Drake Treasure Hunter for blue, black, and red. So 3 mana for a legendary creature human rogue. He has first strike. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast spells you don't own, or to activate abilities of permanents you control but don't own. And he has another ability: whenever Nathan Drake attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. You may cast a spell from among those. So this is really good and will help you give pseudo card advantage. Of course, you're playing one of those from exile. Well, you have the choice of 4. And speaking of exile, that's what I'm going to go over first. A play from exile theme is going to help you get additional value out of the cards you play from, well, exile. So the first card up is actually a newer card with the Spider-Verse. This is around like a couple of bucks, so it's pretty cheap. Of course, the first ability is not really going to apply because if you're not playing against spider decks, it won't really even matter because the legendary rule doesn't apply to spiders you control. But really, that second ability is important. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste to this only once each turn. So this is going to help us copy spells that we cast from exile, getting that additional value. Another card I like a lot is Navshini with a pretty weird chest. For 5 and a red. It has flying, and whenever you cast a spell from exile, you copy it. If it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice the permanent. So it's pretty much similar to the Spider-Verse, but a little bit different. I also like Keeper of Secrets and Passionate Archaeologist, which is also in the Secret Lair, by the way. Whenever you cast those spells from exile, you're going to be dealing damage equal to that spell's mana value to a target opponent, so this is going to be very good to just kind of help close out the game or drain our opponent's life totals little by little. And the last card that benefits off of us playing cards from exile is Flaming Tyrannosaurus. I love this card so much, I had to give this one a mention. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Flaming Tyrannosaurus deals 3 damage to any target, so it's a lightning bolt. And then you put a +1/+1 counter on Flaming Tyrannosaurus, and it has another ability with a dice trigger. It deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. That's going to be huge. It's going to help us close out the game as well, depending on how big it is on the battlefield. And of course, with the more cards we play from exile, the bigger it is going to become. But now I wanted to move on to a different subject, and that's theft. We want to go more into that theft theme just because Nathan Drake is all about that. Why not include some other creatures that will benefit from that? First one up is Don Andres the Renegade. This one is really good because each creature you control but don't own gets +2/+2 and has menace and death touch and is a pirate addition to its other type. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell you don't own, create 2 tap treasure tokens. So this is going to help ramp you a little bit further with those treasure tokens and will be an anthem for creatures you don't control. So this is a great commander but also a great card in the 99. And you guys know I love my dinosaurs. Atali Primal Storm is another way we could just play our opponent's spells for free. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of spells from among those without paying their mana cost. Nothing screams more happiness than a big giant dinosaur giving us free spells. Another great include would be Laughing Jasper Flint. Creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries in addition to their other types. And at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of their opponent's library, where X is the number of outlaws you control. Until on a turn, you may cast the spells from among those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. This is going to be really good instead because we exile our opponent's library, and if we cast one of those creatures, they will be mercenaries, and this will just snowball into more and more value over time. But why stop there when we can include both versions of Gonti with Gonti Lord of Luxury, as well as Gonti Knight Minister? I personally like Gonti Knight Minister just a little bit better. Whenever a player casts a spell they don't own, that player creates a treasure token. Since we're playing spells we don't own all the time, we're just going to be using this ability a lot to make a lot of treasure tokens, but wait, there is more. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller looks at the top card of that opponent's library and exiles it face down. They may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Mana of any type can be spent to cast the spell this way. So there is a lot to like about this new version of Gonti. He incentivizes your opponents to attack each other instead of you. Also, getting treasure to cast those spells we play from exile is going to be important too, especially in Grixis color combinations. Speaking of which, Thieving Varmint is another way we could play those spells that we don't own. You tap it, pay 1 life, add 2 mana of any one color, spend this mana only to cast spells you don't own. This is perfect in a Grixis deck where we don't have a lot of mana options. Another card I find quite interesting is Fevered Suspicion. This is a little expensive at 8 mana, but it is worth it. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among those non-land cards without paying their mana cost, and it has the rebound effect. So you get this essentially twice. It's basically an Atali Primal Conqueror enters the battlefield trigger all in one spell. But again, this deck is really all about theft and making sure that we could just steal our opponent's cards to use them against each other. But if we do want to go into some win cons, here are some options. First, I thought about Breach the Multiverse. This is a great win con in many different strategies, and it can work pretty well in here. Each opponent mills 10 cards. For each player, choose a creature or planeswalker card in that player's graveyard. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control, and each creature you control becomes a Phyrexian in addition to their other types. So this is very good because we're stealing our opponent's creatures, up to 4 potential creatures that we could put on our side of the battlefield. And because Nathan Drake's ability is an attack trigger, you could go into some extra combats. I feel like with all these commanders and the new Secret Lair cards, they all have some sort of attack trigger or some way of using combat to get more bonuses. So you can utilize a lot of different cards like World at War, Aggravated Assault, and Seize the Day. So that way you can swing in with Nathan Drake, get that combat damage, get that extra combat, swing in again, get more cards exiled, rinse and repeat. But again, this is a theft deck after all. If you want a clear way to win, Insurrection will help you get the job done. For 8 mana, you simply gain control of all creatures on the battlefield, untap them, and they gain haste until end turn. This could help you close out the game easily and efficiently. I also like Mutinous Massacre too because it's in a way a very similar card. However, you choose odd or even, destroy each creature with mana value of the chosen quantity, then gain control of all creatures until end of turn, untap them, they gain haste until end turn, and you really want to make sure you close out the game because depending on odd or even, you might destroy the wrong ones and they might swing back at you in the later term. So if you're going to close out the game, make sure you close out the game or just take out the bigger creatures. It really depends on what kind of situation you're in. However, with that said, that is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video on Nathan Drake. And I think overall this is a pretty fun commander, obviously going into that theft theme. I didn't go over the whole entire Secret Lair. There's cards like Midnight Clock, Whip of Erebos, and Chain Reaction, so all these could fit in the deck very well. But I would like to hear from you. Are you planning on building this deck yourself? What other strategies are you going to be making with this deck? Obviously, the deck is pretty linear in stealing each opponent's cards, but obviously you can kind of go in whatever strategy you want to. I feel like this is probably the better option, just stealing stuff and taking advantage of them with a play to exile theme and a little bit of extra combats too. So with all that said, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And with that out of the way, thank you for stopping by.